In an Australian first, Diversity Arts Australia have today unveiled a new report detailing a shocking lack of diversity in arts leadership positions. Oliver Brown reports.
Leaders in the arts industry have often denied accusations of unfair bias towards those with a white Anglo background. With today's report, Executive Director of Diversity Arts Australia, Lena Nahlous, believes we may now have proof that the lack of equal cultural representation starts at the top.
What the research has revealed, it looked at leadership of arts and screen and creative sector organisations. It looked at 200 organisations and almost 2,000 individuals. And it looked at people who were in leadership roles, so people on the board, in the executive roles and management roles. And it also looked at people who were judges on awards panels. And what it found was in every art form area, there was an underrepresentation of people from culturally and linguistically diverse backgrounds or migrant backgrounds as compared to the population, because there's 39% of people from non-Anglo migrant backgrounds in Australia.
The report recommended setting targets, creating new leadership pathways for culturally diverse artists, and advocated for a strong national arts policy.
We also wanted this report to be a kind of encouragement for organisations to change, and we know that there's a lot of good allies in arts organisations and screen organisations across Australia, and I know that they will find this valuable in pushing for change and being able to kind of say, no, we've got this evidence here, and this is what we do need to introduce these programs. We do need to change the way that we act or the way that we are structured. So we're hoping that it's also an encouragement and incentive.
Freelance writer Gemma Mahadio was one of several activists who attended this morning's launch to share their perspective. The daughter of Filipino and Indo-Guyanese migrants, Gemma experienced firsthand the problem of having a lack of diversity in high-up arts positions.
So I initially started my creative life off as an aspiring music academic and performer, and it's very, very elitist and exclusionary, and I was forced to discontinue my music studies as a result of mental health issues. It just wasn't a helpful environment. They weren't interested in helping me graduate, even though I only had, I think, a semester to go, which was really unfortunate. But in terms of writing and publishing, so now I write poetry and nonfiction, I feel like there's more support and there's more representation in terms of diversity.
Obviously, the fact that you were part of this launch of the report, it comes down to the fact that there's a lack of diversity in leadership positions. Is this something that you felt was very obvious while you were trying to get involved in the arts world?
Yeah, absolutely. I didn't realise that there were different ways to get into the industry. I just assumed that I had to follow the model, which is unfortunately quite white-based, rather than looking at other options that are a bit more, I guess, grassroots-based.
Gemma would like to see more research in the future to cover other marginalised groups.
We do still have to look at not just people of colour or not just people that identify as cows, but we also have to look at being more inclusive towards Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders. We need more discourse around disability. We also need to address sexism, homophobia, transphobia, because that's also things that we don't talk about in the arts as much as we could. And again, I feel like they don't have any representation leadership-wise. So it's going to be interesting. Ideally, I hope that we would start to follow the UK model and have quotas in place. And then eventually those quotas will mean that we'll start seeing diversity in leadership. I'm just a creative practitioner, and in a way I'm kind of used to not seeing faces like mine in leadership positions. So ideally I would love for this report to start making that happen.
Lena agrees on the need for a closer investigation into other demographics.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's one of the things that, we're really aware of, that a lot of people who've come from non-Anglo migrant backgrounds are also people with disability, are also LGBTIQ. So we recognise that this is just one modest beginning and one piece of the puzzle. What we would like to do is work in partnership with organisations from those other areas, from the disability sector, First Nations sector, to kind of do more of this research and do it more deeply and also intersectionally as well.
That's Lena Nahlous, Executive Director of Diversity Arts Australia, finishing that report for The Wire's Oliver Brown.